and welcome to Coast Connections, to our very first episode of 2021. I know 2020 has been one of the hardest years we've had, and I think one of the things that really helped get us through this for many, many people is our affection for animals and pets. And today we're going to celebrate that connection and talk about the 10 most memorable animal stories in the Nanaimo News Bulletin for 2020. And joining us for this, welcome back, Chris Bush. For the second year in a row, I think now it's become a tradition.
Yeah, well, I guess it is, if you do two in a row.
Yeah, exactly. How are you, Chris? You're faring well through COVID?
We've done very, very well through COVID. Yeah,
Very
no
good.
problems at all. I haven't got too much to complain, but very lucky compared to a lot of other people who have really had to suffer their way through this, But no, we've been lucky. Yeah.
Glad to hear that, Chris. And in your role as a reporter and photographer for the Nanaimo News Bulletin, you've seen a lot out there on the front lines. And as I said, we're here to celebrate some of the memorable animal stories. So we're going to get rolling right away. We've got 10 to wrap through here. But the first one is the departed dream keepers. These people who went out in help with the Coho.
They did, yeah, and they've been restoring the creek there. That's been going on for some time. I don't know. I think it's completed now. The Greg Sakaki, of course, wrote that story, and yeah, it's really, really cool. I don't know. Have you ever been in there?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Beautiful little creek and a really nice little park, and it's nice to see that they're going to try and bring Coho in there and get them to spawn, and make that a productive creek again. If you've ever been there, I don't know if you've ever noticed all the crayfish in there and whatever. There's a lot of different kinds of little marine wildlife that kind of lurks in that little creek.
It's quite the ecosystem in there. And to help these coho, like one coho female will lay 2,500 eggs, and of that, only 10% actually hatch, and of that, only 10% actually get out to sea, and only 10% comes back. So it means for about every 2,500 eggs, we're getting 2, maybe 3 coho back in the streams for us to, hopefully enjoy. Those are quite the return rates in terms of we really do need to help these coho to survive and thrive. And they're such a wonderful food source for so many species in the freshwater and the saltwater.
I'm always so grateful to have you on here and have you have studied these stories in depth so that you can bring up these details for me, because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, what do I say about this? And forgive me, it's just a little odd. I've never done an interview like this where we're not in the face-to-face in the studio. So it's a bit of a different experience for me right now. But yeah, it is. It's amazing to see how fragile that cycle is, of animals, the birth and regeneration and coming back, how few of them come back and actually makes.
Yeah, it's remarkable. So the work that the stream keepers do all over not only Vancouver Island, but everywhere is really, really important to give these, all the fish species the best possible chance that they can. So shout out to stream keepers at Departure Creek and all over our province and island. Yeah. And Chris, you're doing great. Everyone had to get used to doing these, Zoom, Skype interviews this year. So, we're all in this together. Absolutely. Feeling like a fish out of water sometimes.
Yeah, literally. It's the first time I've ever used Skype, believe it or not. This is fun. Okay, continue on. Please.
Great time traveler. And number 9, we've got Jaeger, the Nanaimo police dog, and he visited VER at Nanaimo General to promote a charity called Ned's Wish. Let's talk a little bit about Jaeger, this amazing hero of the police dog team here, and some of the achievements he's had.
We've reported a lot on Jaeger's exploits over the years, and he's an absolutely beautiful dog. If you've ever kind of pleasure meeting him or being around him. And yeah, he was. They also, of course, go out into the community, and the police do, the canine handlers with their dogs, and to help out to promote worthy causes. And let's see here, and this one I believe was for, yes, it was for Ned's Wish, and that was started by a police services dog that, after retiring, died from some injuries he suffered, and now we have I guess Ned's Wish has supported a number of police dogs over the years, and helps them out with injuries and diseases they get in their old retirement years and whatever else. These dogs, they work extremely hard during their lifetimes, and they do get injured. They're like people, they get the aches and pains from old injuries and whatever else that show up later in life, and some of the same ailments that we all get as we get older as well. So
it's a little hard to get around. And Ned's Wish it's called a cause for heroes with paws. So it's to help out retired police dogs in their retirement years. And as you say, in the course of their duties, they can sustain a lot of injuries going after all kinds of criminals and the detection work that they have to do. So this is to help enhance their retirements and pay for any medical expenses that they do have. And nedswish.com is a website our viewers can go on if they wish to support this wonderful charity. And a shout out to the almost 80 RCMP police dog teams that we do have in Canada. That doesn't include the private police forces either. So it's quite a lot of wonderful, mostly German Shepherd dogs. And the kennel for this is actually in Innisfail, Alberta, where most of these are bred and trained. And that's where Ned's headstone is. He lived to be 13, actually, which is quite a great age for a working police dog. And let's hope that Jaeger lives to be that long as well. Live long and prosper, Jaeger, and keep catching those rodents.
Yeah. I was going to mention the Innisfail, Alberta, the kennel, or the where they raised them there and breed them, and because I think they used to get most of them from the Czech Republic, and only in the last, I think it's the last decade or more, that they've been breeding them in Canada. So these are homebred puppies.
There you go. They're beautiful. I'm sure some of the criminals might not quite agree as they're being tackled by them, but in our eyes, they're beautiful.
I've seen a few criminals that were not very happy after they didn't cooperate with the police dogs. So
they're bark or bite in that case. Next up, just shifting gears right here, we've got a tarantula moth. Never had heard of these till this story came out, Chris.
No.
One of the largest insects that are found in BC, about the size of a human hand. And this was a lady named Chantal who was just walking with her daughter in Victoria and happened to see this on the ground. It started moving, and turns out I think she called the Royal BC Museum or somebody to identify it. Tell us a bit about this amazing moth.
I honestly had never heard of them before I read this story, and it was really quite fascinating. It's rare at all to see them in the daytime. Apparently, the lady who originally spotted this, I believe, with her daughter, it was sitting in a parking lot, and down in it was somewhere down in Victoria, and where was I going with that? If I ran into that thing, it's pretty terrifying looking. I don't like tarantulas anyway, but apparently they're totally harmless. And I absolutely had no idea these existed here. That it's really, really interesting. I don't know what they do. I don't know what they prey on. It's just, it's quite fascinating. Quite
She
fascinating.
mentioned that she said it looked like that a tarantula had mated with a moth.
Yeah.
And it's actually called a polyphemus moth. And in Greek mythology, or if I may say mothology, Polyphemus was one of the largest uh, cyclops, one of the giants, the one-eyed giants. So if you
That's
look at the
right.
wing, if you look at the wing on the tarantula, it's got like what looks like an eye, that white marking there, a large eye, and it's
Mhm.
meant to fake predators to making it look like it's actually an owl. And if you look at it closely, that's pretty clever camouflage. So
Yes.
that the tarantula moth, gets top marks for camouflage. But I wouldn't want to meet this in person, I don't think. She said it was beautifully ugly,
Yeah.
unlike the cyclops, who were, vile cannibals. So you had a good encounter.
I
Um,
imagine
Chris,
Cyclops didn't have.
we're on to number 7 here, and we'll
Okay.
talk about this the 2 dogs that were attacked by cougars here in
Yeah.
the area.
And, it's just one of those situations, one of those hazards that, if you want to call it a hazard, that people with dogs or children or whatever have to be aware of around here. We have a lot of cougars. This happened on Takala Road, which is not too far from where we live, or where my home is. And, it's we have cougar out there and we have bear. And if they're hungry or they're desperate or what have you, or frightened, you know, they can, they can attack. And that poor dog he got quite an injury. The other one was not injured that badly, from what I understand, but this one had a piece of bone in his brain from having his skull basically pierced, I guess, by the cougar. Yeah, and it was. They spent a lot of money to save this dog as well. I believe the vet bill was somewhere around
Is
20.
they had an online funding campaign to help
They,
out. It was $20,000 raised. How
yeah,
lovely to help with the surgery. It was an 8-hour surgery this poor dog had to undertake. And if you look at the photo, Chris, the stitch work from
yeah,
the that the veterinarians had to do there is just remarkable. There's a lot of stitches in there. And I understand this poor fella also lost an eye in this, but looks like he's doing well. He's going
yeah,
to be out and about and having, the good rest of his life, probably staying a little closer to home.
yeah.
And I think we mentioned on earlier episodes of Coast Connections that Vancouver Island has the highest percentage of cougars anywhere in the world. Um, there's about 3,500 in Canada, and 3,000 of those are in BC, of which a third of those are on Vancouver Island, yet we're only 3% of the landmass. So
And that,
I always find it remarkable that there actually aren't more cougar encounters, um, because they do everything they can to try and avoid contact as much as possible. So we need
yeah,
to respect them and also protect our pets as well.
there's always a saying: a cougar you don't see a cougar unless he wants you to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yo,
yeah, they're around.
they
They're
are
around.
around. They're beautiful, beautiful animals, but we need to coexist carefully with them. So we
That's
hope
right.
that dog is doing really well after that remarkable surgery that they had. And
Uh,
number 6, oh, go ahead.
thing I was going to mention to you too. Some of these stories, as obviously, are not directly from the Nanaimo. Like this one was written by Cole Chisler down in Ladysmith, and the other one came up from Victoria about the moth. And one of the reasons we included these stories is because of how much local interest these stories generated from our local readers. They were really fascinated by it. So that's why a few of these got included,
Here
in
we
this.
go.
Yeah.
Thank, Thanks, Chris. And at number 6, we've got Cantaloupe the horse at the Cassidy Feed and Tackle Shop, who the owner there dressed her up as Dr. Bonnie Henry, BC's top doctor. You gotta love it. In the time of COVID, a little bit of levity.
Yeah. And, Meredith Dean and her horse Cantaloupe, Cantaloupe, apparently that's where the name came from.
Oh,
She's had a lot of press. That horse has had a lot, or that horse mannequin has had a lot of press over the years. And yeah, it's funny. I drive by every day,
uh-huh.
twice a day, past her shop, and I'm always looking for what that horse is dressed up as this time, right? The
Right.
Bonnie Henry one, that was good. And
Yeah.
apparently she had a pretty good sense of humor about it too, Dr. Henry herself. So yeah, but this
And
they, I mean, they,
Dr. Henry's fashion choice, the social network seemed to notice the shoes that she was wearing, which she
yeah,
was a big fan of the John Fluvog shoes, Vancouver shoemaker. So he actually came up with the Dr. Bonnie Henry shoe. We've got a
yeah,
shot of it here. And it actually crashed his website. It all sold out in pre-sales, and all of the proceeds went to the BC food banks. So that is really cool. And on the footbed of the shoe, he's got her mantra, be kind, be calm, be safe. So
uh,
anybody who's walking around in those shoes are very lucky people. And so are we to have Dr. Bonnie Henry. So
yeah.
good times in COVID. And on to some not so good news, Chris, about the 5 poisoned eagles.
Ah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, or the 10 poisoned eagles, pardon me,
yep. It was.
inadvertently got into the land fill in Nanaimo.
Mhm. I was really privileged to be able to go in and photograph and write about these um, uh, with at Dr. Ken Langelier's um, veterinary clinic here. And those eagles are they're interesting. They're like kids. They're like teenagers. You know, when they're not feeling good, they're pretty docile. As soon as they're feeling good, you know, they'll have a go at you for sure. They've got real attitude. I think only one died out of the 10. And apparently it was from a pig carcass. They figured that was deposited out at the landfill. And the unfortunate thing was they have provision for when animals are euthanized, where they can sequester the corpses, you know, or the carcasses, and where wildlife can't get at them to eat them. You just have to let them know. Unfortunately, this pig, it was supposed, um, was euthanized with sodium pentobarbital. Is that how you
Right.
pronounce
Yeah.
it? Yeah,
A common drug for euthanasia in animals.
yeah. So no, that was an interesting story, and it was good for a lot of really cool photographs and just watching these people work with these animals. And yeah, yeah, it's you know, it's very touching to see that
Mm.
happen in front of you, you know, and the care and I I wouldn't know how to approach one of these to handle it. I mean, when these things are feeling better, you know, and
Very
yet,
carefully.
yeah,
Yeah.
Tina
So what
Hine of the Raptor Rescue Society was there, of course, as you can see in the photos and whatnot. And yeah, just real compassion, real passion for the work and for the animals, you know. And
it's nice
yeah,
to see.
they look very cool up close, you know, when you get
And
right
9
in.
out of 10 of those are happy about that.
Yeah,
On number 4 here, we've got to get through a few more here, Chris. The
gotcha.
Amargasaurus, the Lance of Lanceville, the amazing dinosaur from the Cetacean era, who's come and made a permanent residence here. It's amazing. We've
Got it.
actually, it's Lance Potey, I think is his name, in Lanceville,
Gotcha.
picked these up from an online auction somewhere.
That's
And
right.
he's got it in his backyard in Lanceville. We've got a 40-second video here. Will show the how this actually moves. It's an animatronic, basically an
Yeah.
electronic puppet. And he brought this over. It's like 850 pounds, 31 feet long. They brought it on the Tsawwassen ferry. I would love to know what that ferry rate was. And Lance, being, a few million years old, if he got the seniors rate on the ferry.
There you go. Eh?
It's
Yeah,
beautiful. I love this.
he's an interesting guy. I've never actually met him. Greg Sakaki, our managing editor, did this story, and we've done a few stories with Lance Potty over the years. And he's one of these guys who will just try something to see if it works, you know. And he's had a fire truck out there, and I think he still does, and that was holding a big sign and whatever. I think every once in a while he butts heads with Lanceville Village Council and whatever over some of his ideas, which he just tends to put into practice. You know? But yeah, this was a good one, and he, as he was saying, he really loved to see the interaction when children come around, right? He waits, I guess, with the remote control or whatever till the children walk up, and then he starts the thing up, and it, and the kids pet it and whatever else. And yeah, very cool. I'd like to go see it sometime, honestly. Yeah, it'd be really good to
I
see
love
it.
how he's adding some the color to local community. So good for Lance.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Lance,
we
we're gonna
lost our big giant gnome there a couple of years ago. So somebody's got to, maintain the tradition around here. So yeah.
exactly. We're gonna jump right now, Chris, over to Lemon, the paralyzed cat, who's actually become a foster cat,
Yeah.
adopted by vets that helped her. Again, this was a dog attack, this poor cat. And she's gone on to live a very happy life there at the VCA Canada Island Animal Hospital.
Yeah.
And the veterinarians there have adopted her. She's sort of the
And
foster mom to other kittens now.
that's right. He kind of takes other cats under his wing, and
Mhm.
shows them the rounds and shows them how to, make their way in life.
Yeah.
And he's an orange tabby, and we had an orange tabby ourselves. It's the only kind of cat I would personally have. They're so friendly and they have so much personality. And yeah, he's a very cool little cat from all accounts, and
And
seems
speaking
to
of,
get around just fine.
yeah, good.
Mhm.
Speaking of cats, we're on to our number two one, which is the bylaw in Nanaimo. I think it just passed last night about banning cats from roaming neighborhoods. This
It actually, go ahead. It actually didn't pass last night. It's going back to council for not. I'm sorry, back to city staff, and they'll do any final changes to it, and then it comes back before council for three readings. But yeah, they kind of rubber stamped that one, and to get it through, they went for the first option, which means people, when this actually comes into effect, will have to start keeping their cats not strictly indoors, but they'll have to have them under control when they're outdoors and not able to roam. That's only
and it's
one.
further protection too. I mean, we've seen in our stories here from wildlife attacks, from attacks by other animals, parasites, poisonings, all those types of things. And domestic cats actually are responsible, and feral cats, for about 100 to 350 million songbird deaths. So
Yeah,
that's another thing too. It's the more cats that we have roaming the neighborhoods, the balance of nature sort of is a bit disrupted there.
it
So we'll
is.
see where that goes in the months ahead, Chris.
Yeah.
But we're on to our number one story. We need a little bit of a drum roll here. Our number one story, Chris Bush, is Justin Lynch, an
Yes.
Nanaimo firefighter who rescued a beautiful Australian Shepherd dog. Tell us about this.
A little dog named Joey, little kind of medium-sized dog. And I didn't actually, I wrote the story, but I didn't go up there because we hear things on the scanners all the time. And it sounded like, we were busy doing other things and we just didn't pick up. It sounded like maybe somebody was injured or something on a hike, which happens all the time. Had I known it was a dog down the abyss, down that big crack, I would have gone up there for sure. Karen Fry, our former fire chief, who's gone over to head up Vancouver Fire Department now, she was kind enough to grab a bunch of pictures. She was there while it was happening and sent us the photographs, which was just fabulous of her to do. The dog was unhurt, and
That's because it was
had
about 50 feet that he fell down that crevice, wasn't it, Chris?
50 feet. Yeah, it's unbelievable. There's also, if you've ever been up there, there's a lot of debris up there inside, the abyss and whatever, and it's fairly narrow for a man to get down. So Jason, I believe Jason Lynch, he was small enough to get all the way down there to the
Yeah.
dog. He's one of the smaller guys. I wouldn't have wanted to go down there. That would have been terrifying. The one really great thing about the owner is he was walking his dog he has a harness. And I know when we take our dog out, we always have him on a harness instead of a collar. and it's just better for the dog. And when you run into situations like this, and dogs do slip on trails and whatever, and you've got to grab them, you can haul them up. And that's what made it that much easier for him to basically clip onto this dog and haul it up without harming it, you know. So
Wow.
yeah, it was really a nice outcome for that. And yeah, it's just, and the owner was just, of course, over the moon. He thought he had lost his dog. I mean, it would have been a terrifying thing, you know, see your dog go down that hole.
Nanaimo Fire and Rescue and Justin Lynch in particular for rappelling down 50 feet to get this beautiful dog back to its owner. And you have a really good point there about dogs wearing harnesses. This is a really good example of that as a safety precaution. So,
Really,
Chris, that ends our top 10 for 2020. But any closing remarks from you on this?
well, it was, you know, our coverage of certain kinds of animal stories was a little less this year than it normally would be, you know, because possibly because of COVID, you know. But looking forward to 10 more next year. Hopefully, all good stories, you know, happy stories with happy endings, right? Yeah. So it's always fun to do this.
Thank you,
job.
Thank you so much for keeping eyes on our community here and getting these lovely stories out. And I also just want to have a big shout out to all the veterinarians and their staff who do remarkable work in assisting these animals when they are in peril and looking after them when they are healthy to keep them well. So shout out to all those unsung two-footed heroes who are helping our wild friends and domestic friends as well. So on that note, Chris, I wish you and your pets a very healthy and happy 2021 and look forward to having you back for the third tradition at the end of this year to see what other animal stories you have for us. Thanks so much.
Maybe I'll let you get a word in edgewise next time.
No, you did really well on your first Skype interview too. Thank you, Chris. And thank you to our viewers. If you have any stories that you'd like to have covered, pushed at the Nanaimo News Bulletin. And we look forward to seeing you on future episodes here for our 2021 lineup. We've got some really interesting shows for you coming up. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Coast Connections.